I watched a podcast, Bill Maher's podcast with Brian Tyler Cohen. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. And I see a clip in it where Bill Maher is saying, geez, I was wrong. These tariffs aren't as bad as I thought they would be. When I drive around, I don't see people suffering. Everything seems to be okay. I admit that I was wrong. And I say to myself, well, first of all, what are you talking about? The American consumers like paying for this. What is Bill Maher talking about? And what happened to Bill Maher? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
I actually saw that clip. I didn't watch the podcast, but I saw that clip. And my first thought was like, how can you be so dumb? Like literally, I get how like the MAGA people and the Fox News people buy that bullshit, but he should be a little bit smarter about it. But I mean, he's kind of lost the plot in the last couple of years. Look, here, these tariffs, and all the experts will say the same thing. You can read any publication, any serious economist. It's always delayed. The impact of these things is always delayed. The tariffs, the reason why Trump gives these companies months ahead notice, like, hey, these are going to kick in August 1st. Like he says it 2-3 months out. They buy up inventory is what they do before the tariffs go into effect. Every American company did that with China and Europe. They bought tons of inventory. It's also why, a lot of the economy didn't tank as bad. It's always a delayed reaction. You're going to see it in the next economic data report on some of the consumer prices, but you're really going to see it in Q3 and Q4 is where the inflationary impact of these tariffs is really going to kick into effect, because companies will eat some of the tariffs on a temporary basis. They'll take a little bit of a hit in the short term to try and protect their consumers and their market share, but they're not going to do that over months and months. They might do it for a few months, but once the reality sets in that these tariffs are permanent and not going away, and once the inventory that they built up before the tariffs went into effect is gone, then the impact is really going to hit. And so, look, I don't know how you can sit there and go, the tariffs just went into effect like a month ago, and hey, it doesn't seem like prices have gone up that much. Well, first of all, they have. Check the price of coffee and things, other commodities, tomatoes, beef. Look, just take the price of oil and gas. So now Europe is going to buy all their oil and gas from us. What's that going to do for our market when huge multinational energy companies are now going to be selling our stuff to Europe at a higher profit margin? What's that going to do to prices here? All of this stuff takes time. So look, I predict Q3, Q4 is going to be dismal. And that's when these tariffs are going to take effect. But how you can sit there and go 1 month after the tariffs kicked in, hey, everything seems okay to me, anecdotally, that's just stupidity.
Agree. I have to ask you about this whole Sydney Sweeney thing, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on the show, because it seems to me anyway that this is a manufactured scandal from the right. I haven't seen any, and you can tell me if you have any prominent Democrats that have called Sweeney out or really even taken any time talking about this. I mean, it seems like this is the Bud Light thing all over again, only this is even more pathetic. What do you make of this?
It's really even more pathetic. I mean, the Bud Light thing is a little different because, that was just, they just paid the transgender person to do an Instagram ad. That was it for like $5,000, and they just turned that into a whole thing. But in this case, there were like so in that case, it was them complaining about an ad. In this case, they're claiming that Democrats are complaining about an ad. But I've covered MAGA for many years, and I monitor all of their people, all their influencers every single day. And I watch this happen in real time. And I've seen this playbook so many times before. Like literally, I've seen this 200 times, except that this one sort of took off a little bigger, maybe because, look, a lot of times they're just looking for an excuse to post a scantily clad hot blonde, and they're just, because they know that's good for clicks with MAGA. So a lot of times they're just looking for any excuse to put that out there. But I watched this happen. Here's what happened. The ad comes out, and then a bunch of the right-wing influencers said, oh, the libs, this is what they said. Oh, the libs are not going to like this. They're going to hate this. An attractive, blonde-haired, blue-eyed model. When's the last time, any jean company used, it's been years since because they have this thing in their head that like only like plus size minority women are used in ads anymore. Like they don't use white women. So this is their belief. That's not true, but that's what they believe. So when Sydney Sweeney comes out and does that ad, they're like, oh, the libs aren't going to like this. Meanwhile, the libs said nothing. I mean, there was virtually like no reaction. I Google searched it. I found like one writer for like some small, it was Salon or one of those small publications who like had an issue with in the ad. It said good genes, GEGENES. And so they were like, oh, that's like a dog whistle or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of like taking it a little too far, but that was basically it. Like a handful of like random people on the internet, probably half bots, were doing a little bit of grumbling, but no members of the media who are Democrats, no elected officials, no prominent Democratic influencers anywhere that I could find criticizing this. Meanwhile, they just kept building it and building it. The libs are outraged. The libs are they hate white women. They hate attractive women. And I'm just like watching this play out day after day. And then of course once Fox picks up on it, and of course Fox again, they just look for that's the Fox playbook is you have an attractive blonde model and you have an excuse to put her on TV. They're gonna run that 24/7 because that's good ratings. Their audience is mostly old white guys who that's what they want to see. So I just watched, it was just so fake. And so I kept challenging them. I'm like, I put it out there because so many of them follow me. I said, name me one prominent Democrat, just one elected official anywhere who has complained about this ad, and I'll shut up. Crickets,
Nothing. Yeah, as I said, and I agree with you. Yeah, it's a manufactured scandal from the right.
We're putting a 15% tariff on everything from Europe for the most part, with a couple exceptions. We're keeping the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. So basically, Americans are paying a 15% sales tax on anything that comes from Europe. And Gasparino argued with Kilmeade about that. And because Kilmeade makes that argument that Trump makes, which is, oh, American companies are just going to eat that tariff. They're going to take it out of their profit. Yeah, right. Big corporations are going to take Trump's tariffs out of their profit bottom line. Sure they are. So that was one argument that he argued with him about. And the point is that a lot of the stuff that Europe has agreed to do broadly, they were already going to do anyway, because they're not buying natural gas from Russia anymore. So they're going to start buying it from us. Okay, well, they were already going to do that. They're going to buy weapons from us. They're all increasing their defense budget. So they're going to buy weapons from us. They were going to do that anyway because of the threat from Russia. So a lot of the things that are in this so-called deal, they were already going to do.
Right.
And the final point I'll make is this is negotiated with the EU commissioner. She cannot dictate to businesses in Germany and in Spain and in France what they have to buy from the United States. All these are goals and objectives. They're not like agreements where you have to honor them. They're just plans. And so what they know is that they can just slow play Trump, give him his PR win. And then as we look, China agreed to buy back in 2019, X amount of oil from the United States that they pledged to buy. They never did it. Right. I mean, this is what we've seen time and time again. These countries know they can promise Trump one thing, give him his PR win, and then a few months later, they can just forget about it.